It started like any other small flood in Pittsburgh. The 669,000 people of the bustling Steel City had come to expect flooding every year or so. But this flood was not like the others. The waters kept rising and rising to record-breaking levels. This flood, which is now known as the 36th flood or the Great St. Patrick's Day flood, would eventually take over 100 lives and cost Pittsburgh $4.94 billion in today's money. On Tuesday, March 17, 1936, the Duquesne Incline was open for business, despite the rising waters accumulating in the rivers from the most recent storms that passed through the northeastern United States. The northern half of the U.S. had just seen an intense winter with a lot of snowfall. The temperatures were rising fast, and all that snow was starting to melt. The rivers surrounding Pittsburgh had increased to 19 feet on Monday, and the forecast predicted rain in the afternoon. But still, the Duquesne Incline carried on, moving people up and down Mount Washington as they journeyed into town and came back from work. Until 1936, Pittsburgh's biggest flood was this flood of 1907, which resulted in waters that rose up to 38 feet. The flood of 1907 had pushed residents of the Pittsburgh area to lobby for better flood prevention infrastructure from the federal government. Despite their efforts, the movement's progress had come to a halt until that fateful day. During the afternoon of Tuesday, March 17th, Pittsburgh received 2 inches of rainfall. On top of Mount Washington, the riders and operators of the incline would have seen the water as it started rising past the riverbanks. As the water slowly crept into the city, the operators of the Duquesne Incline received a call from their electric company, Duquesne Light Company. "You have to shut down your cars and evacuate the riders," they told the operators. "We're going to be underwater soon and the incline is going to lose power." The incline complied right away and evacuated the train cars. To escape the rising waters and get to higher ground, people desperately started climbing the tracks of the Duquesne Incline. The small steps for maintenance workers were not easy to climb, and the women with big hoop skirts and large hats surely struggled to climb to safety. The waters rose well into Wednesday, March 17th, eventually reaching the max height of 46 feet 4 inches. Numerous businesses and homes were underwater, as well as 3 of the biggest steel factories. Highways, bridges, power lines, and gas mains were severely damaged or destroyed. Fires started around the city. The National Guard was called in to assist with rescuing the people of Pittsburgh. On top of Mount Washington, at the incline, onlookers would have seen the tiny dots of Pittsburghers stranded on the roofs of their homes and others floating in the water, clutching whatever was nearest to try and stay afloat as the boats came to rescue them. The floodwaters started dropping on Thursday, March 18th. However, the waters remained at flood level for 3 more days. In addition to the 100 who died, 3,000 had been injured and more than 100,000 buildings were destroyed. By March 21st, over 80,000 people had been made homeless. With such a horrible flood, how could the city recover? The Duquesne Incline opened after the water had receded. The incline provided transportation to doctors and nurses going into town, as hospitals and their makeshift counterparts tended to the wounded. Construction workers rode the incline as they worked on opening the factories and businesses that were destroyed. Regular people assisting with the cleanup rode the incline, as well as family members reuniting after the flood had displaced them. Shortly after the 1936 flood, the federal government finally agreed to reallocate funds to sponsor flood prevention in Pittsburgh and the United States. During this time, riders on the incline got a great view of the construction as dams were built around the city and other measures were installed on the river. It is because of these flood control measures that the city of Pittsburgh has never seen a flood as detrimental as the Great St. Patrick's Day flood.